Fellow FPL managers, today we are looking at the best players to buy in Game Week 3 of FPL. So make sure you like and subscribe and let's get right into it. So as usual, we're going to be looking at the top 5 defenders, top 5 midfielders and top 5 forwards. Now guys, let me know down in the comments, what is your favourite cereal? Me personally, I don't eat cereal much, but I am a Frosties guy above everything else. Anyway, onto the defenders now. In the number 5 spot, we've got Livramento. Now, fun fact about Newcastle defence, they have the most expected clean sheets and the least expected goals conceded across game week 1 and 2. I know it's a small sample size, but they haven't exactly had the easiest game weeks. They've went and played away to Aston Villa and home to Liverpool, and they were very unlucky to concede even 1 goal against Liverpool, let alone 3. So that defence is strong, and Livramento has the highest creative potential of that Newcastle defence. He even got an assist against Liverpool. So Livramento at 5 million, I say, is pretty good value and the best Newcastle defender to go for, and he's playing for a pretty good defence. The fixture run is alright, you know, game week 3 and 4, the fixtures look good. 5 and 6, not so much, but then after that, the fixtures sweeten up again. So overall, if you've got some rotation players in there for game week 5 and 6, he's a great player for your team. In the 4th spot, I've got Konza. You could switch around Livramento and Konza, to be completely honest, but Konza's fixture run is much better. I know Aston Villa's form isn't great, but they're defended all right. You know, they've only conceded 1 goal in 2 games. Their attack is what's been lacking. Even though their fixtures haven't been the easiest, you'd still expect a little more from them. The next 6 game weeks, the next 4 game weeks, however you see it, Aston Villa have the best fixture run in the game, and you cannot ignore their players despite their bad form. And Konza is the most reliable defender from the Aston Villa defence at only 4.5 million. You could go for Digne or Cash, but there's going to be one game where they get rotated, and you don't want that to happen when Aston Villa keep a clean sheet. In the 3rd spot, we've got Cucurella. Now, I wasn't really a fan of picking Cucurella in game week 1, but seeing how he's played these last 2 game weeks, I think he's a pretty good option to go for. The fixture run for Chelsea is all right. It's not special, but he is a really forward-minded defender, and Maresca plays him to bomb into the box quite a lot. Even when it's not a corner, sometimes he just goes up there from open play, which is what you want in a defender. The clean sheet potential is also pretty good. Chelsea defended quite well. They were fairly lucky to get a clean sheet against Crystal Palace, but the complete opposite against West Ham. They only conceded 1 chance, and it was that Paqueta long shot, which somehow Sanchez let in. So yeah, overall, Cucurella, you know, good form. He's already got a goal involvement this season, plays for a good defence. I know he's quite costly, but if you're looking for a defender that you can afford, you know, any price, Cucurella is your guy to go for. I am a fan of the Arsenal defenders, but their fixture run is just way too hard right now. In the 2nd spot, I've got Williams from Nottingham Forest. If you have a more expensive budget, Murillo and Milenkovic could also come in his place here. It's basically just a Forest defender in this number 2 spot, but it's a big if. If you have cover for game week 4, then Forest are the best team to buy from. I'd put Williams or Murillo or Milenkovic above Pedro Porro, because home to West Ham, away to Burnley and home to Sunderland, you know, last season, that's a guaranteed, you know, 3 clean sheets for Forest, and not much has changed with their defence this season. And I don't want to jinx them, but, you know, we could be looking at 3 clean sheets in the next 4 game weeks. And if you've got a defender to come in and cover for them, it makes it even sweeter. Even if you don't have cover, you know, you're still looking at 3 likely clean sheets across the next 4 game weeks. Still an amazing player to go for. The reason I like Williams the most is because he's the cheapest for reliable minutes along with Aina, but he gets better defensive contributions per 90 than Aina, and he's got more goal threat than Aina. With that being said, Aina has got defensive contribution points this season and Williams hasn't, but that could all change. If you look at the data from last season, Williams is the more likely player to end up with more defensive contributions points. But if that changes, then we'll just have to, you know, write that down and change the best Forest defender from Williams to Aina. But for now, Williams is the guy to go for. I've got Porro in the number 1 spot. Now, Spurs have kept 2 clean sheets this season. They're pretty lucky to even have 1, if I'm being honest. They could have conceded to Burnley. They definitely should have conceded to Man City. But one thing you can say about them is they do look a lot more solid than last time. Their expected clean sheets and expected goals conceded is pretty mid-table looking at the underlying data, which is all right. It's not a team you'd expect to get 2 clean sheets. I mean, looking at their next fixture on the next 4 to 6 games, you could see maybe another 2 or 3 clean sheets there. If you're being realistic, it's probably 2, but there's potential for at least 3 clean sheets in the coming game weeks. And I was looking at Porro the last 3 seasons, okay? I worked it out in my head. Across the last 3 seasons, not including this one, Porro was averaging a goal involvement every 3 starts. To be more specific, it was every 3.2, 3.3 starts. So basically every 3 starts. And for a defender, those are insanely good numbers. If he actually played a season and started every single game, he'd end up on at least 10 goal involvements. And looking at the Spurs defence this season, maybe he could even end on 10, 11 clean sheets. That's going to be a huge point tally at the end of the season, and he will cost a lot more. And I think he is worth a lot more than 5.5 million if they keep this solid defensively. It's just, you know, under Thomas Frank, can he still keep that attacking threat going forward? So far, he's got okay underlying data, so I think he will, because he's also won a lot of set pieces, but we'll just have to see. Midfielders are up next. Now, as you can see, the general price of these midfielders, there's no real expensive midfielders here. I don't believe in them. Saka and Palmer are injury risks. Definitely out for game week 3, maybe even longer, especially Saka. Then you're looking at the likes of the mid-priced ones, or, you know, the mid-tier expensive ones, Wirtz and Bruno or Marmoush. They're all pretty diabolical. I mean, Bruno plays home to Burnley, but then he plays away to Man City. I do like him as an option, but these guys, for how much they cost, just bring better value across these next 4 to 6 game weeks. In that number 5 spot, we've got Morgan Rogers, who has the worst underlying data of almost any player in the league. He's done almost nothing, but that still doesn't put me off him as an FPL asset, because it's not him that's been on bad form, it's Aston Villa that have been on bad form. And once they find their form, and they will with this good fixture run, Rodgers will be one of the highest point scorers in that attack, you know, alongside Watkins, obviously. It's a risk, and I think there's a lot of players around this price, as you can see, that are better value than him and have better expected data, better fixture runs. Well, not better fixture runs, but the data combined with the fixture runs. If you look at the 4 players above him, I would definitely recommend those guys ahead of Rodgers. But if you don't believe in them, or you already own them, Rodgers is the guy to go for. Gibbs White is going to be a unique one. You're not going to see many people recommending you to get Gibbs White, but the underlying data is okay. It's not amazing. But like I said with Williams, that fixture run is really good. And if you have bench cover for game week 4, me personally, I've got 4.5 million midfielder Joshua King, who's playing home to Leeds. That's perfect for me to bring Gibbs White in, because it means I've got home to West Ham, bench him for the Arsenal away game, then I have him against Burnley and Sunderland. For me, he's not 4th place on this list. He's definitely top 3. But if you don't have cover for game week 4, then he's a little lower. That's why I've left him at the number 4 spot. Undoy, the new winger they bought, has also been doing quite well, but I believe with Gibbs White, he's got the better underlying data. He's on more set pieces, so I think he is definitely the best option to go for from that attack, even though he does cost a little bit more. Above him, we've got Kudus. Now, Brennan Johnson, at only 0.5, 0.6 more, has been doing a lot better on the actual output in terms of points, but I think Kudus is more reliable for minutes, and he's going to be getting more points across the next 4 to 6 game weeks, because Kudus, he plays quite well in general. These last 2 game weeks, he's done well. He's even played as a striker in a back 5. Brennan Johnson has not put out the best performances, but he has got 2 goals, and that's what matters from an FPL standpoint. My issue is, if he doesn't keep playing really well, he could easily find himself on the bench for Tell or Odebert. Like it's been happening the last 2 seasons with Brennan Johnson, where he finds himself on good form, getting high expected goals and finishing the chances. And you look at all these goals and they're all back post tap-ins. And it gets to a point where Johnson doesn't play well enough and he gets on the bench for the next 3 or 4 game weeks. You don't want to own a player costing over 7 million that's just going to end up on the bench after a bad performance. With Kudus, fair enough, the same could happen to him, but I really doubt it. That's why I've got him here ahead of Johnson, even though his underlying data and actual output is a little lower than Brennan Johnson's. I believe in the long run, Kudus is the better option to go for, and he's also a little bit cheaper. Now, Ismaili Sarr, you see in here, you're going to be a bit confused, because why would I bring in a player who's playing away to Aston Villa? The Aston Villa home defence for the last 2 or 3 seasons has been one of the best in the league. And I know that, guys. I'm a big advocate for the Aston Villa defence when they're playing at home. I even recommended Conceded in this video. But here's a fun fact about Ismaili Sarr playing against Aston Villa. He started against them 7 times and not blanked once. I think he's got 9 goal involvements against them in 7 starts. That is a ridiculous stat, okay? And sometimes you've got to pay attention to the patterns in FPL. If you've got a player who is consistently scoring against the club over several years, you can't really ignore that. Then you look at the games that follow. You've got 2 of the worst teams in the league in Sunderland and West Ham. Ismaili Sarr's next 3 game weeks are pretty good. He's got that Liverpool game week, which is quite tough, but the Liverpool defence doesn't look great, let's be honest. They're still a very tough fixture, because they'll probably score 4 or 5 goals against your favourite team, but picking an attacker against Liverpool is not the worst. You know, they leak goals sometimes. At the number 1 spot, it needs no explanation. The Bournemouth fixture run is good, and Semenyo's underlying data is ridiculous. Semenyo scored 2 goals in game week 1. Then in game week 2, he got even more expected goals, another 2 big chances, and ended up only scoring 0. He got an assist from a very low expected assist chance, which I'm grateful for. You know, he kind of made up for it. On the whole, Semenyo has always been a guy who's picked up high expected goals, but not always been able to convert them, and he's shown that in game week 2, which does worry me a little bit. But then again, in game week 1, we saw the complete opposite, so it balances out the scales. Semenyo's always going to be getting 90 minutes. If not, he's going to be getting at least 85, 87, you know, so playing pretty much the full game. And right now, he is hogging all the expected goals for Bournemouth. So for me, he is a no-brainer. If you're looking for a midfielder and you can afford Semenyo, you should probably go for Semenyo. Finally, we have the forwards. Now, the forwards, man, I wish there were 4 forward spots in FPL instead of 3 because there are so many good options to choose from. At the number 5 spot, I've gone with Strand Larsen. Now, he's had 2 blanks in 2 fairly tough fixtures. Going into Game Week 3 and Game Week 5, he's got 2 really good home fixtures. Obviously, they surround a tough Game Week 4 fixture against what is currently on recent form the best defence in the league. But aside from that, the fixtures are good in the medium to long run. And I think Strand Larsen, well, we know Strand Larsen is the biggest goal threat at Wolves. So if anyone's going to score in those games, it's going to be him. Right now, his underlying data is bad. He hasn't got any penalties and he's not done very well at all along with the rest of the Wolves team. But FPL isn't about picking players based on what's happened. It's based on what you think is going to happen. And I believe in the next 4 game weeks, you're going to see at least, 4 goals for Wolves, I reckon. I'd be surprised if it was less than that with the games they've got coming up. And I think Strand Larsen's going to be involved in at least half of those goals. So if you have Strand Larsen, definitely hold him. If you're looking to buy a forward, there's many better options, as you can see above him. But if you can't afford a forward over 7 million, Strand Larsen, I still believe, is the guy to go for. You could look at Thiago from Brentford, but he is not as proven as Strand Larsen. Strand Larsen had a great season last season, and we know he can convert the big chances. So I'd be looking at him as my number 1 forward under 7 million. In the 4th spot, we've got Chris Wood. If you've got a good bench cover for Game Week 4, he's probably the 2nd or 3rd best player to go for. So Chris Wood, that fixture run from Forest, we've talked about it so many times in this video. The Chris Wood underlying data is good. We all know he always overperforms the expected goals, so we're not surprised. He's just a reliable player and he's been reliable for the last 2 seasons. He's just a reliable option. You know what you're going to get with him. Placing João Pedro in the 3rd spot above him was a tough decision. It was close. I think in terms of the fixture runs, if you're assuming you're playing them for Game Week 3, 4, 5 and 6, these next 4 games, João Pedro does have it better because of the Arsenal away game Chris Wood has. João Pedro's underlying data is also ridiculously good, guys. He's got creative potential. Even though he's got low expected assists, he's found himself in good positions and created 2 big chances for his teammates from it, which they have both converted. And even when he doesn't play striker, he's not pushed to the bench. He's just pushed to another position in the attack, which makes his minutes very reliable. And Cole Palmer's out for Game Week 3, so if Chelsea pick up a penalty, you know who could be on him. It's your boy João Pedro. In the number 2 spot, we have got off form Ollie Watkins. We've got an Aston Villa player in each position for the players to buy, which is going to confuse some people. You may think I'm giving you bad advice, but Aston Villa are going to find their form. Like I said, with Morgan Rogers, they will play well on this fixture run because teams who aren't playing too well, when they find themselves on a good fixture run, that's when they pick up form. That's when the players are getting way more involved in the goals than they were before. Ollie Watkins is the main goal threat from Aston Villa, and we could see a lot of goals from him in these next 4 to 6 game weeks. I still think he is a much better option than Gyökeres. If you guys are thinking Gyökeres is a good option to buy because he just scored a brace, I strongly beg to differ. The Arsenal fixture run is not good at all, and Ollie Watkins will probably outscore him across the next 6 game weeks. Expected goals and expected assists for him are really low right now, but I promise you guys that will change. If you have him, please don't sell him. If you're looking to buy an expensive forward, go for Ollie Watkins instead of Gyökeres. And finally, at the number 1 spot, not a lot of people are going to be able to afford him or bring him in without taking a hit. But Haaland is the best forward in the game to go for. Obviously, you have to factor in the price tag and not a lot of people are going to be able to get him. Just look at the underlying data across these first 2 game weeks. If you think that's going to change, you are sorely mistaken. Haaland is going to be on a rampage. I believe he's going to outscore Salah. Salah's underlying data is ridiculously low, and I'm talking ridiculously low. Now they've got a proper striker, I wouldn't be surprised if Ekitike outscored Salah across the next 6 or 8 game weeks or for the rest of the season. So yeah, if you can afford Haaland or you can find a way to bring him in, definitely get him in your team, guys. Anyway, that is it for this video. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with down in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe if you made it this far. You are very much appreciated, and I will see you all in the next video.